Let's jump in. It is my pleasure to introduce you all to Mr. Kees de Vos. He hails from the Netherlands, has a fondness for Tennessee whiskey and long-distance running, not often at the same time. And as Chief Product Officer, his team is responsible for the products that you all know and love. So help me welcome our favorite Dutchman to the stage, Kees de Vos. Awesome. Thank you, Kees. Okay.
Good. Welcome to Nashville, everyone. It's my first time in Nashville. Absolutely love the place. Quite incredible. 3 of my passions are long-distance running. You have the Appalachian Trail, one of the most amazing trail running tracks or trails in the country, maybe even the world. I've never made it so far, unfortunately. I love music. Some of the most amazing artists have recorded just 2 blocks down from here. Fantastic. And I love, indeed, a little bit of Tennessee whiskey. I didn't instigate the whiskey tasting downstairs, but it did convince me to come. Seriously, though, my 4th passion is making software and making software that changes people's lives. And that's the real reason we are here today. Really looking forward to today. It's full of practical, actionable advice to help you supercharge your teams. Yeah? So in my section, about 50 minutes, an hour, hopefully, talk a little bit about a roadmap, what's going to come down the pipeline from a product perspective. But more importantly, we'll talk to 2 people from innovative companies that have taken their companies through a journey from customer engagement to productivity and building real strong cultures at their businesses. So, without further ado, let's look at the strategies that we see in these companies. Let's see what kind of like key pillars these strategies are made of. We see them, and you will hear about these strategies in a few minutes' time, but we see them across all of our customers, our successful customers. We see 4 real important pillars. Those pillars are great communication, an amazing employee experience, digitizing processes, and last but definitely not least, insights. And then when you bring that all together, that's when you're going to get real frontline success. So let's start with communication. We all know communication is the cornerstone of a great frontline, of a great effective frontline team. We all work that, we all start there very often. But if you look at the practical side of things, it's fairly straightforward. Communication needs to be instant, it needs to be multilingual, it needs to be secure, it needs to cater for text, it needs to cater for video, for voice. On the softer side, communication needs to be engaging, it needs to be fun. You need to be part of it. But if you want to drive real change, you have to go one step further. You have to go bolder. You have to open up communication across your entire company. You have to connect teams with each other, departments with each other. You have to connect the front line with headquarters. You even have to go as far maybe to connect the person that is serving your customers, that is operating the machines on the shop floor, that is standing at the front desk with the CEO of your business. Now, very often we hear from companies that is scary. But trust me, all of our success stories will tell you that opening that communication up in multiple directions is a real recipe to unlocking frontline success. Secondly, in communication, we have to appreciate that it is always a 2-way street. Communication, by its definition, will not exist if you don't participate, if you don't listen. Top-down communication, top-down information is of interest for a short while, but it will die out. Over time, what you need is a 2-way conversation to really drive success. In a time where employee turnover is at record highs, you have to build a great employee experience. An employee experience that turns you from any other comparable employer to an employer of choice. And that starts with putting the frontline worker at the center of your thinking. Don't think about what you are going to put into that employee experience. Think about what that frontline worker is going to get out of it. That is really important. And if you do that right, you get a really, really strong win-win situation. Really, really powerful if you get this right. If we look at what frontline workers really want, what's important for them, it starts really simple. I want to know when I'm going to work and what I'm going to get paid. A great opportunity for you as an employer straight away. Share shifts, share pay slips. They get the information that they are after, and for you it means some great savings, maybe more flexibility when shifts change. Secondly, as we'll hear this afternoon, results from our frontline survey show that employees want to do a good job. They simply want to be successful in their job. So when you have gone through the effort to bring them in, to recruit them, get them onboarded quickly, get them productive quickly. A great win for you as well. Thirdly, frontline workers want to progress. They want to learn, they want to develop. So give them on-the-job training. Yeah, that's great for them. It drives retention. They enjoy their job better. They can evolve. And for you, you get a better, more productive, and really engaged worker. But that's not everything. A great communication, a great engaged workforce doesn't necessarily immediately get the job done. They will definitely be more productive, but you can do more. So you have to start thinking about, how can I digitize my operations? We know in this room that the most jobs in the front line are still run by pen and paper. We also know, if we're honest, that we can do so much better. We have to take these processes into the 21st century and give the frontline worker the tools that they know and love and technology that they use every single day. Changing the habit of a lifetime can be tough, though. So therefore, when you introduce digital processes, make sure that you take small steps at a time. Again, put the frontline worker at the heart of your thinking and think about those processes that will help them, but also benefit you. A simple process to request time off. A simple process to request a holiday, maybe. And if that works, then you can start looking at more complex processes. Then maybe you implement a more complex maintenance process, for example. Now, although for many of our customers, these journeys of digitizing processes are really just at the early stage, many of those customers have not even started. Yet, if you look at the data on the Beekeeper platform, just this year to this date, we have seen 2 million workflows being executed, 1 million forms being completed, 7 million documents being read, 3 million shifts being uploaded. There is almost 15 million pieces of paper immediately taken out of the front line. Amazing savings, amazing efficiency savings, money savings there, but even more importantly, the frontline workers love it because it makes their job easier, it makes them more productive, they get the job done. Now, when you have the holy trinity of frontline success, of communication, of employee experience, and digital processes in place, that's when you can start looking at the data. And you can then assess, is my strategy successful, yes or no? You can start evolving your strategy. So that's where reporting and analytics become really important. Start understanding which teams are doing well, which teams are engaged, which teams are productive, and which ones are not. And not only does it give you the opportunity to improve your strategy, it also can give you some tactical insights. We worked with one of the largest airports in the world. And using this information, we were able to identify that their employees did not get the information that they were looking for in the company communications. There was a lot of growing unrest. There was about to have a strike, and understanding that it was simply about not providing information, we could actually inform the leadership team, give the staff the information that they needed, and revert that strike. On the flip side, we have a company in Flagger Force that uses this data to really look at the positive side of things. Which teams are engaged? Where can we find our next generation of leaders? So these are 4 strategies to drive and supercharge your front line. Communication, employee experience, digital processes, and insights. But we know that change can be hard, can be the hardest part of the journey. This afternoon, you will hear from Dr. Luana Marquez that this anxiety, you can turn it into a superpower. From our perspective, it's really thinking about 3 things. Making sure that you put the frontline worker at the heart of your decision making. You start small and you look at this change as a cohesive combination of communication, employee experience, and digitizing processes. When you put all those together, take one step at a time, you'll be amazed at the momentum that you can create, both in engagement but also productivity levels. Now, of course, you can listen to me, and of course, I work at Beekeeper, so maybe I'm slightly biased. So therefore, I'd like to invite our first guest to the stage, and you can hear it firsthand from people that have been there and done that. Can I welcome to the stage from Caribou Coffee, the Chief Legal Officer, Jess Monson. Great stuff. Caribou Coffee, amazing company. When I landed in Minneapolis on my way here, I literally came out of security, and there it was, Caribou Coffee.
Yes, love that.
You can't miss it, right?
Love that, can't miss it. Yep.
So I know Caribou Coffee. Of course, you've been a customer for several years now, but maybe for the people that have not come across Caribou Coffee, maybe a short introduction.
Yeah, sure, well, thank you. This is lovely. I absolutely love Nashville, and I've really enjoyed, even in this short time I've been here, learning a little bit from all of you as to how you're using Beekeeper and how much you love it as well. So I have a few takeaways of my own, a few sparks that I'm going to take back to the team. But yes, from Caribou Coffee, we are a Minneapolis-based premium coffee house chain. We have a global presence. We're in 11 countries. We have over 7,500 employees. We also have franchise locations as well. And I just heard that one of our franchisees is about ready, I believe, to join the Beekeeper Fund. So we're really excited about that. We also have consumer packaged goods, so you can buy our coffee. If you don't have a Caribou Coffee House near you, you can buy it in all 50 states. And we're also happy to ship it online anywhere you would like. So,
excellent. Tell us a little bit about the company culture at Beekeeper, at Caribou.
Yeah, so our founders started the company in 1992 based on a premise that they wanted to have a true connection with the guest, not to have this stale coffee house experience, but to really have an authentic, conversation with the guest as we were serving. So our purpose statement is that we create day-making experiences that spark a chain reaction of good for our team members, our guests, and our community. And we really live that. And Beekeeper is, I think it was mentioned obviously before, our little sparks about frontline team members. Beekeeper really helps us with that, and it fits really, really well with what we try to do on a daily basis in our coffee house with our guests.
Yeah, fantastic. I love it. Like also from a company cultural perspective, there's a really great match, between Beekeeper and Caribou. That vision, that part of your vision, we make. Creating day-making experiences. Tell us a little bit about the role Beekeeper plays in that and how you go about driving that forward.
Yeah, we started actually with Beekeeper, kind of our launch, if you will, was our general manager conference. So our general manager population, obviously widely important, I'm sure similar with some of your businesses as well. And we really wanted to make sure that we had that connection with the general managers. And so our general manager conference, we call it BooCon. It's a highlight of the year for everyone. People actually at our support center fight to get to BooCon to be able to attend. It's that much fun. But we started with Beekeeper, our Spark Stories. So this is a stream that's available to everyone, but we started it at this general manager conference, BooCon, so people could share their experience at BooCon. They were excited, to get there. They were, sharing content and some of the things that obviously we would love them to share, but also just fun moments or, hey, I'm missing my pet that's back at home. So we started this Spark Stories, and then we decided to keep it. Now the stream is available to everyone. So you'll see our CEO sharing, our executive team will engage. It's a really easy way, even if you're having that morning where you don't really want to get up and go to work. We've all had that, right? Even though we love our jobs. But hey, let's look. You can see a really cute puppy eating a pup cup, through one of our drive-through windows, or somebody had a baby. All those life events that I think sometimes get hidden, but it's a really easy way for us to instantly connect, even as an executive leadership team, to our team members in store that may be miles away.
Yeah, fantastic. That's a great sort of like cultural sort of like element to that, right? The puppy stories, which is awesome. But then Beekeeper kind of like evolves, and the use of the tool kind of like evolves. At which point did you get to the point where you said like, hey, this is now a part of who we are, of the way we work? At which point did it go from a nice to have to a must have?
Yeah, well, I liked the pen and paper example. I think through the pandemic, and we all survived, are surviving, continue to survive. And we had a lot of paper processes. We had a thing called the Red Book, which was literally a red journal that when you were in store and had something to write down, something happened in the shift, you wanted to communicate it, or there was a product issue, it went in the Red Book. And it was kind of the Red Book to nowhere at times. And we realized, I think, during COVID that this cascade of top-down communication and then whatever happened in the Red Book that may or may not have gotten filtered back up just wasn't going to work for us. And I think when you stress the system in something like a pandemic, we realized we had to have better communication processes, and we needed to take away that cascade so that we could, and that's why we truly focus on that general manager population in order to get down to the frontline team members, which for us it's a lot of part-time baristas.
We spoke a little bit earlier about the sort of like some of the hesitation there is to kind of like open up that communication to everyone. You said like the CEO takes part in this conversation. That sometimes, people are like, oh, we don't want people to react to that or like directly address this person. Tell us, what would you say to people like that have that thought, and what would you say to them to kind of convince them to open up that conversation?
Yeah, I think labor relations extremely important right now. There's a lot of activity in that space, and as the lawyer, I'm really excited about a tool like this because I think if there are issues or problems at a store location, we want to know about them. So even if we do, and we occasionally have a post that maybe we wouldn't have preferred to have out there, but at least we can address it, right? And we can address it in the public forum and meet the team member where they're at. I've also heard, last night from a few people having a kind of ask the leadership type functionality where, hey, like there is truly that open line of communication. And I think, they're going to post it somewhere. So I'd rather almost have it be on our platform than to try to chase it in channels that we might not be able to watch as well. I also really like some of the moderation features that are available, to obviously filter out for certain, words, et cetera, but also to know that if somebody flags a post as inappropriate, we can get in there and address that to ensure that, we're keeping our team member population safe. So I really do love that instantaneous feedback. We've seen it even in other areas of our business, like food safety, for example, or quality assurance, where a team member will, maybe even in a Spark story, post something that we're like, that doesn't sound quite right, need to have somebody check on that. That wasn't coming through our official, incident management system. So it's a great other area for us to get feedback in real time.
Yeah, I think the listening part, and suddenly getting information at a pace that you never had before. You normally had to write it down in the Red Book, and that got, over several weeks, finally somebody at head office sees it. Now you have it, instantly. Yeah, definitely. You talked about the moderation, and if there are things that maybe, happen that you don't want to happen. I have to ask, as a chief legal officer, how does Beekeeper help you in sort of like addressing sort of like compliance or legal risks?
Yeah. So I don't know if there are any other lawyers in the room, but we get a little nervous with some of what I'll just call it shadow IT. But I think the WhatsApp, the chat, the messages, the things that lawyers it's difficult even if you're involved with litigation or trying to do an employee investigation, that it's hard for us to get. And asking a team member, can I see your whether text message, can you screenshot it? And I think if we try to keep our communications with our frontline team members and our management through an official app, things like schedule changes, et cetera, that they talked a little bit about this morning, it helps us to kind of control that communication channel a bit more, and gives us some comfort. And also for a team member, they may not feel comfortable sharing their cell phone number, or they don't want their team members to have that cell phone number. And this gives those team members another option, again, through a company channel that we're offering to communicate. And then we also have a little bit of a pulse on, hey, is there something there? Do we need, is there an issue that we can address at that time? So again, I will say too, on an event that we would need to exit an employee or offboarding, that's, again, we can take away the access and control that, where some of the other platforms, you may not have that instantaneous ability to do that. And it's also baked in with our other kind of exit procedures. So won't focus on that topic, but I will say it is a benefit.
So Beekeeper has something for everyone, even for the legal department. That's good to know. That's good to know. Excellent. Time to close off our conversation, unfortunately. But I'd love to hear your favorite story. I think it's incredibly inspiring. So I'd love you to share it with everybody in the room.
I would love to do that. Although I will say, I do love the dogs enjoying a Caribou Pup Cup. It's a little whipped cream and a cute little mini Caribou coffee cup. So I will say, aside from the women's ERG that I will speak about, I do love the furry friends that we see. But I'm the executive sponsor of our Women's ERG, an employee resource group. And with over 80% of our team members and guests being female, this is something that is just vitally important to Caribou. And we were able to launch our ERG using Beekeeper, where we would have a short form that would be filled out by an individual that would want to join, that instantly populates a message that gets sent to the group so that we can welcome them in and gives them a little bit more information to start that dialogue, that spark, that connection. And it's the ability to engage in this type of fashion with these groups that are vital. We feel like this is really good business. I think obviously career development and having a great culture is important, but when we look at 80% of our team members and guests are female, we really want to hear from that particular population. And I think the problems or issues that somebody may be facing in our employee resource group is something that our guests may be facing, something that our community may be facing. And so we really see this as a great opportunity to get real-time feedback and engage where it's needed, and hopefully the business results will follow.
I love the story, and I love your final statement. Hopefully the business results will follow. And I think when we say hopefully, we actually know that the business results will follow. If it's communication, engagement, all these softer things will actually drive productivity, they drive retention. It's great for the business as a whole. Jess, thank you so much for sharing your story. You're a shining light, I think, in the world, when it comes to driving engagement with your teams, driving a great company culture, and we are so grateful you're doing it on Beekeeper. Ladies and gentlemen, a really warm applause for Jess. Very good. So our next speaker is no stranger to rapid growth and building engaged and efficient teams from the ground up. When Resorts World decided to open up a new resort on the Las Vegas Strip, it was going to be the largest resort that had opened on the Las Vegas Strip for the last 10 years. There was going to be more than 3,000 guest rooms, 5,000 employees, and also it was decided to open up the resort in an accelerated fashion. The man that was tasked with this unenviable job is the VP of Human Resources, Bob Naparilla. Welcome, Bob.
Good morning. Good morning.
Welcome to Nashville.
Thank you.
After you.
Good morning,
Right.
everyone.
Bob, taking on a challenge in such a large location during COVID, 5,000 team members from scratch, that is particularly bold. When you set off, you set yourself and your team kind of like up for a mission. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. So I'm a little bit crazy. We'll start with that. If I reflect back and look at where we were at, this was beginning of 2020, right? The pandemic was at the height of what was going on. We were all working from home, and here we had to open this property and hire 5,000 people. So we figured out the applicant process, right? And did some technology there, 130,000 applications to get to 5,000 team members. Our challenge was, how are we going to communicate to everyone? We couldn't bring them on property. First of all, we were a construction site. Second of all, we couldn't have mass amounts of people together at that time and have traditional training sessions, right? And so that's where we started really looking at Beekeeper and the communication mechanisms that were available to us there. Now, the first step I had at a challenge was getting our executive team buy-in. Being a luxury property, a luxury hotel, they're not used to, or traditional settings are not used to having team members with their phones, right? When your phone should be in your backpack or your locker somewhere. But that was a paradigm shift for our executive team to understand that it's okay to have your phone with you and on you. We want team members to engage with our guests and have the knowledge and information that they need for their jobs, right? The second part of that was really making sure that we had a great onboarding experience. Again, team members were coming on board just 2 weeks before we actually opened the property. So our goal was to communicate as much as we possibly could to everyone before they came on property. So they knew how to get to the property. There was videos on where to park, how to enter, where to get your uniform from. Because think about earlier, Sarah mentioned our first job, right? How nervous were we when we had our first job and we woke up or we didn't sleep good that night? And we said, where am I gonna go? How am I gonna do this? Where am I gonna meet my manager? All those different types of things. So we did everything possible to take those anxieties and those fears away from our new hires joining us. And really, as Case mentioned earlier, we're the first property to open in over 10 years, right? So Vegas sometimes is antiquated analog processes by bulletin boards and things like that. We wanted to get away from all of that. We're the most technologically advanced property on the Las Vegas Strip. So our team member experience had to equate to that as well. So that's really the process that we took. And it was exciting, crazy. I don't know if I would do it all again, to be honest with you, but it was a great experience as well.
Excellent. I love the story, and there's a lot of background stories. It's just phenomenal how you got that volume through the door and got them going quickly, right? From a standing start. So now you have all your people on board. Yeah, it's a great onboarding experience. You got the team motivated to get going. How do you then keep them engaged?
Absolutely. So one of the things we did, we started with our culture. So our culture is weaving through everything that we do as an organization. So our culture is you. It's how you show up, step up, and lift up, right? So it's how I show up to work. It's how I raise my hand and take on other things. And it's how I lift up, how I recognize other team members. So we have a culture of you stream in our application where everyone can go in and recognize and acknowledge team members. So it's really important. So you see the screen up here. This was new hires coming into process, right? And they were posting their images up here and really being able to recognize, welcome each other. It really built a great team, especially when we weren't together yet at that point. So it was really a great opportunity. We've also done other things with the application as well, where we've do contests. So there was a contest with elephants, so we did it for a charity event, and everyone painted an elephant in the departments. Then there was a whole bidding process that took place on there. We've also used the application for things such as volunteerism and tracking your volunteer hours. So as many things as we can possibly put into the application, we have, because it drives engagement, it drives that camaraderie, it drives that overall team member engagement.
I love it how you say that the content, it drives engagement, because that's part, like when we said earlier, about bringing communication, employee experience, and the digital process together. Part of that is is there something for me to engage in? Is there value for me to go to the app and actually be part of the community and be part of that conversation? Absolutely.
And I think one thing I'll just add too, being in Las Vegas, right, we have a lot of great headliners that come onto property. Sometimes we have extra tickets, right? Those tickets 300 tickets will go in 30 seconds because everyone's aware, they're on the app and they're participating.
Yeah, fantastic. And then from an operational perspective, what else do you do to drive efficiency, to really get that team fired up and executing as efficiently as you possibly can?
Absolutely. So I think one thing we did was put as many things in the application as we can. So not only your time off and your training and links to all those different types of things and resources and all of that, but really making sure that it's a one-stop shop. I like to call it a toolbox or a toolkit, right? But it's really the one-stop shop where you have everything you possibly need for your position. So I think that was really important to make it as sticky as you possibly can, to have people, team members come back over and over again and use that tool. So it's been really successful. I think one of the things that we've done is we've done attendance call-outs now through Beekeeper. So how many times, we have since it's 5,000 team members, we have a centralized workforce management department. Well, our centralized department was sitting there listening to voicemails. In a housekeeping department alone, we could have at one point 50 call-outs in one day. So you're going to sit there and listen to 50 different messages and then hope that you've listened properly, that you've heard the team member's message, and that you've recorded it appropriately, right? Well, Beekeeper has taken all of that away. It's a one-stop shop that automatically gets sent to our workforce management department, and it also gets sent to the managers so they know that that team member is called out. So what that's done is really created a lot of efficiencies for our departments. We can focus really now on the scheduling side of things and making more efficient there and not worrying about the call-out side and wasting that time as well. So there's a lot of great things that we've done with the app and making it more user-friendly, not only for our managers, but for our team members as well.
Yeah, fantastic. I love the win-win stories that sort of like, have that as a red line through your stories, really. If you think about the onboarding, for addressing that anxiety when I start a new job, it's like, hey, here's all the information I need. That's great. That puts me at ease. I can start a job that I want to start. For you, having a great onboarded employee is incredibly valuable too. The call-out forms another great example of that real, powerful win-win, where it's super easy for the employee to say like, hey, unfortunately, I can't make it today, and your team, rather than listening to all these voicemails, actually really quickly get all the data accurately and respond to that, to make sure that you can deliver the service that you want. Fantastic stories.
Absolutely. We also do things such as shift bids. We're the first property on the Las Vegas Strip to have in our contracts electronic communications, electronic bidding. So gone are the days of posting paper on the wall and signing up and hoping that there was no errors or mistakes or grievances as a result. Everything's electronic, and we've had 0 grievances and 0 costs associated with that.
One more question for you, Bob. I know you're a man with a view for the future. So from your perspective, what are the things that you are thinking about next? What's next in your journey?
I think, so everyone, I always reach out to Case whenever I have an idea. So he knows most of these already.
Okay.
So we launched the chatbot. We call our chatbot Buddy, right? So we're excited because team members they go right to Buddy and it pulls up all the information that they're looking for. I'm really looking forward to the AI part of it to come to speed up that process. So I think that's exciting. We're also looking at chats in between departments as well.
Yeah, fantastic. It's been a real privilege. We were just talking about it earlier today, to be at your resort and experience that joy of the people that work there and how much they enjoy also the tool. When many of our employees had this, when they came to the front desk and you have to give your email address and said, I'm Case from Beekeeper, and people are like, we love Beekeeper. This is amazing. You work for Beekeeper? Yeah, we do. It's like, we love it. We couldn't live without. And then we went back a house to your HR department. People were just raving about it. Not just the HR team, but also every single employee. So it was a real privilege to see that and see the impact of the software. But actually, it is about the people like yourself, Bob, that take that software and really make it happen in the real world. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. A big applause to Bob.
Right, thank you.
Thanks so much, Rob. That was great. Very good, very good. So on to the last stretch for me, about our vision and what we are building on our roadmap today and what you can expect from us on the roadmap. Bob has already indicated what he is looking for. Bob, I'm very happy that I have some good news for you. Not directly influenced. I had these slides before we spoke. But But let's talk about our roadmap. How do we build our roadmap? Really briefly, we have, of course, a company vision, our vision of what we want to achieve in the future, but we take, as a very important input to our roadmap decision-making process and the prioritization, your feedback, your desires as well. So I am around all day. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. I can't guarantee that it will be developed, but this is what's great about days like this, to hear firsthand what customers are looking for. As I said, our vision is the other part that influences our roadmap, and our vision is one, for people that have been working with us for a longer period of time, our vision is one of the empowered frontline worker. We don't believe that technology is ever going to replace the frontline worker. We believe in the human touch of customer service, of human contribution to production or guest services, etc. We believe that these frontline workers need the assistance, need the right tools at the right time to do their best possible job. Just like you and I have the tools that we need to do our best possible job. Maybe some of us have even got executive assistants that do part of the job for us. That's the vision that we have of what we want to deliver to a frontline worker. With that technology, we want to keep that worker one step ahead. We want to give them at the right time, at the right place, the tools that they need, the information they need to do the best possible job every single day. So what can you expect in the near future from Beekeeper and from the product and engineering teams right in your app? One of the big requests that we get on a very regular basis is the ability to keep that conversation piece fun, to keep it engaging, to keep it rich. So we are working at this moment in time, we hope to deliver over the coming 2 quarters an enriched version of both chats and streams. Expect more rich, be able to share more rich content, share videos inline, watch videos inline, share more documents, share more images, etc. And of course, one of the highest requests we've had, we want to enable customers and employees to react to that content, to appreciate the content that is there. So expect a bucket load of emojis to come your way. What we also talked about earlier is that right information at the right time, that vision of the empowered worker. This is really important for us as part of our vision. We believe that empowering that frontline worker is really core to our job. But as soon as a frontline worker takes their phone out of their pocket, they actually stop doing their job momentarily. They work with their hands. So if you hold a mobile phone, you are not working. So the interaction with that solution needs to be super accurate. It needs to be super valuable. The information that you are looking for needs to be there almost instantaneous. So therefore, we have been working over the last few months on something we call the Frontline Workspace, a new version of the Beekeeper homepage, the landing page in our app as well as online. A space where every individual worker will find their version, their unique version of the information that is most relevant to them, personalized on their situation, their role, maybe even on the job that they are about to do. We will surface to the top what chats that they have missed. We will surface in their homepage which tasks need to be completed. We surface the tools that are most relevant to the job that they are about to do. We've been testing this with our customers, with a select group of customers already, and the first results are incredibly encouraging. We see that the stickiness of the app has really gone up. People really sort of like go, engage, in, out really quickly. We see that productivity has gone up through the completion of tasks. We see that the completion rate of surveys and forms, etc., has gone up. Just we put them in the right location at the right time. But information is not always to do with the job I'm about to do. There's always the search capability. Bob, specifically for you, but also some of the other customers, we are introducing artificial intelligence to our search capabilities. Although artificial intelligence is a buzzword we hear in technology day in, day out, it's our job to make this as relevant and as effective for frontline workers in particular. We will apply artificial intelligence to interpret search queries in the most efficient way and find the right content regardless in what language you asked for it or it was written in. Queries can be in natural language, they can be entered to a search box, we can use a chatbot, and of course, we will serve this content in any of the 130 languages available on Beekeeper. Now, as you all know, frontline work very often is done in teams. We already have group chats in Beekeeper that most of you will be using. But as I said earlier, it's about combining both communication, employee experience, as well as digitized processes. So we are working on the next evolution of group chats. Group chat for groups, some of you may have heard of, but then on steroids. This is a place where teams don't just communicate, it's where they actively collaborate. A team could be a shift, a team could be all of the people in housekeeping, it could be the cleaning staff, it could be the maintenance team. All of these people will have groups created for them automatically, and they can collaborate. They can see who's working with me on this shift, which tasks need to be completed. What are the documents that are most relevant for this particular team? You can ask your team, they can service it, you can store it within that group context, and you can access it. It's a real step forward to create a collaborative team spirit, sharing and accessing the most relevant information directly in the place where they do their work. Now, working closely with a lot of you, we get a lot of requests to have more data, more insights, etc. We hear that you want to create your own reports. We hear that you want to see, hey, how many forms have been completed? How many tasks are outstanding? So we are rebuilding our analytics and reporting capability with, again, artificial intelligence and machine learning built in. Earlier this year, we already delivered the sentiment analysis that allows you, based on our proprietary machine learning model, to understand which teams are engaged, which teams maybe need some more support. We will start delivering our new tool set basically with some basic reporting around forms and analytics. But after that, we will roll out these proprietary machine learning models to apply to the operational capabilities as well. So now we can start to understand, hey, which teams are performing well? Which teams are completing tasks efficiently? Which teams maybe need a little bit more coaching and support? Which processes, which workflows are effective, and which processes and workflows need adjusting to get executed even more quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our commitment to help your team to be as successful as possible. Back in Europe, in Zurich, as well as our office at Krakow, we have engineers, we have designers, we have people that test our software, we have product managers, we have technicians that run your hardware. We are all excited and genuinely driven to make a difference for the front line. This is our commitment, that we continue to do that we will continue to surpass your expectations. We continue to deliver software that not only you appreciate as a company, driving efficiencies, but our frontline workers genuinely enjoy using. I'll be around for the rest of the day. Please come find me if you have any questions about our product, if you got any requests. If you don't see me, I would head to the whiskey tasting downstairs. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a great day.